of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, clerk.
Ms. King. Is absent. Ms. Loper.
Present.
Mr. Baxter.
Present.
Ms. Sims.
Here.
Myself present. Mr. Wilson.
Present.
Ms. Armstrong.
Here. Attorney Carey is not with us today, ladies and gentlemen, because he's ill. Okay, board members, we need to amend the agenda for 2 items. The first thing we need to amend the agenda for is to have Dominic Clemens, the Genesee County Clerk, elect for elections, to just speak and let us know what's going on with the whole election thing, because I didn't understand. So I reached out to him so that he could come and maybe he can give us some information on those of us who may have questions, because I know I do. So also the second one is to amend we got to do that one first. Go ahead.
We'll do them on the
We're gonna
same
do them at
time.
the same time. Okay, the second one is to amend the agenda for resignation for one of our police officers, Officer Joe Phillips. What's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve and amend the agenda for October 23rd, 2023 to add Genesee County Clerk for presentation, and also the resignation of Officer Joe Phillips.
Support. Any questions? Hearing none, we call for the vote.
Ms. Loper.
Yes.
Mr. Baxter.
Yes.
Ms. Sims.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, approved board minutes for October 23rd, 2023. Need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve. Support.
Any questions? Hearing none, we call for the vote.
I thought we just approved that amendment.
No, we just
Yeah,
did the
you meant
amendment.
The
October,
minutes.
the
We
minutes.
just did the amendments. but we
I'm
didn't
sorry.
Call for the vote.
Ms. Loper.
Yes.
Mr. Baxter.
Yes.
Ms. Sims.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, approved minutes for board meeting October the 9th, 2023.
So move. Support.
Questions? Hearing none, we call for the vote.
Mr. Baxter.
Yes.
Ms. Sims.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong.
Yes.
Ms. Loper.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, approved payment of the bills for October the 4th, 2023 through October the 17th, 2023 in the amount of $1,455,239.10.
I so move.
Support.
Questions? Hearing none, we call for the vote.
Ms. Sims.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong.
Yes.
Ms. Loper.
Yes.
Mr. Baxter.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Public comments on the agenda items only. To the residents of the township that was not at our last board meeting, we extended our public comments to 3 minutes. So do we have any public comments on the agenda items only? Hearing none, we move forward. Okay, we're on the unfinished business. Code enforcer's office position, part-time 10 hours per week, November through April, and up to 28 hours per week, May through October, effective November the 1st, 2023. Board-
We got the on table.
It's, motion to untable.
I make a motion to remove from the table.
Support.
Any questions? Call for the vote.
Myself, yes. Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong.
Yes.
Ms. Loper.
Yes.
Baxter.
Yes.
Ms. Sims.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Board members, I called Attorney Carey today because I was wondering how long we can leave this on the table. He said, well, you can leave it on there until we get it figured out. But I agree, and he agreed that we need to, what are we going to do with this? We need to know what we're going to do with this tonight, or otherwise leave it off the table and just deal with it when we come back in March, because we have funding up until March. So, because there are some more fundings that we're seeking. We have not gotten them, or we have not sought them out yet. Mr. Holmes and I are working on that because we truly need our code enforcers in this township. We have a lot going on in this township, but So what is it that do we want to leave it until March or maybe February and we come back and look into it and see what we are, because we have enough funding until March.
I wouldn't wait until March to look at it.
No,
To,
I didn't say that's why I say February maybe.
maybe the January.
That's
But
and then maybe by then Mr. Holmes will have some
I
information.
just think that if we try to do, we need to really sit down and see what our alternative would be if we don't have the funding, because we got to have a backup plan, a plan A and a plan B. So, and I don't feel comfortable waiting until
To the end of
March
right.
or the end of February. But right now, for us to try to figure that out, that's not good either. So I really, maybe we should even start talking about it in December so that we can start looking at what we plan on doing just in case we don't have plan B. We need to be proactive instead of being reactive. We really need to start looking at that because, you know, we have the money, we say we're looking for it, but that's no guarantee. So we need to look.
Well, that is absolutely true.
Right, we
but
need to
just
start
need to look
looking.
into it.
I don't see why we can't have, you know, how we've had meetings where we all come together and talk about it. Even if we did it in November, we need to start looking at a backup plan.
We need to start making some cuts somewhere. We have to. We have to start saving some money.
And that was the whole ordeal. This is like I said, I believe in code enforcement and we need it.
We
But
do.
when I heard through a budget meeting that we had that there was concerns about longevity after March 31st, and that's when I proposed just little numbers that you have in the packet that you can either do this or you can do that. But like I said, it has to be discussed about what they're doing, what they're not doing, and if we can afford them, if we cannot. So that's why this was put on the agenda.
So we can pick a date in November to sit down and
And we can look at the township as a whole, as far as other things that we can cut, you know, not just having the code enforcers on the table, other ways where we can cut. So I think that we probably should start doing that in November. I don't see,
November's
it's
a
never
week-
too early to start
November's a
looking at a
week away.
budget and ways we can save money.
You know, November's a week away. And for years, we used to have one code enforcer for years. You know, then it was just so much for the one we had. So I fought pretty bad the first 4-year term to get a second one to help Mr. Torres on the issues that we've had. But in the November, December, January, February months, there ain't much to do out there. You know, in the past, we've have paperwork showing that there's, you know, they don't pull cars out of people's yards because it tears the yards up if they're under the snow. I can't see going down to 10 hours, but I could definitely see going to 20.
I'm
For-
not
for them 4
disputing
months.
any of that. I'm
Right.
just saying we need to come together as a board and look at everything is on the table. I agree. I think we need to have that conversation sooner
'Cause
than
if we
later.
don't do something come March, we ain't gonna have either one of them because we won't be able to afford
So
it.
let's plan to have let's schedule something soon.
so
the
let's
next
look to
good
schedule
weeks.
something maybe
Yeah.
sometime. What's today? This week. We'll just
And
send
we-
some dates out.
Let's set some dates out and send it and find out what works for everybody. And we can sit down and come to the table and bring all the ideas that we have for cuts to the table. So we, you know, ways to save money.
Okay. So we
That's
move
that's
on.
that's my thoughts.
Just
That's
move
But
on.
that
that's
is that is absolutely correct. So let's we'll just table it and
Can't
tell him.
table it no more. But
Well, no, he
so
Yeah,
said
we can table
could.
it.
Yeah, we
we
can.
table it based on a new motion. Okay.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, somebody can vote to table it.
as long as
What's
we
the
have
dates?
the long as the motion is that we have a meeting in November to start looking at the budget and reducing spending, reducing, you know, whatever cuts, however you want to phrase it. But we have
I make
a
a motion
motion.
to retable this with the idea we're gonna have a work session the first half of November. And
Absolutely.
bring the information back to us the last board meeting of November. So we can just make a decision for December 1st.
And also
Because we've already tabled this for 3 months. It's been messing around.
Absolutely.
You know, it's time to get off the pot and get something done.
Got nothing with it.
Support. Who gonna support?
I support it. Go ahead.
All right. Motion by Wilson, supported by Ms. Sims. Call for any more discussion?
Any more discussion? Well, let's take them. So go ahead. Go for the vote.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong.
Yes.
Ms. Loper.
Yes.
Ms. Baxter.
Yes.
Sims.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, we're down to new business, and we're gonna ask that the county clerk come. And the questions that I had before him, I spoke to him on the phone, pertain to my retreat that I went on. There was a lot of things I did not understand. And so I would just like for him to kind of explain to us, because I did ask him about, and I told you all this in our last meeting, about merging with someone else. And he said they met about that. And I think about 5 counties, townships was willing to do it. But anyway, I'm gonna just let him explain, because my concern is it's a lot of money and it's costing a lot of money. I just found out today we're gonna have to add $9,000 to the clerk's budget again. So can you just kind of tell the whole body, and I know it's not just you and it's not just this township, how is this done? How do we do this to continue the
Absolutely.
funding?
Absolutely. Thank you all for having me again. Dominic Clemens, Genesee County Clerk and Register of Deeds. In that capacity, I serve as the Chief Election Administrator for all of Genesee County. And as all of you know, early voting, Proposal 22-2 was something that was passed overwhelmingly by the citizens of the state of Michigan with over a 60% majority, the highest ballot turnout we've seen in any proposal in recent history. So with that being said, the things that are stipulated in 22-2 are not only state law, but they've been added to our state constitution. So we all have a constitutional duty, regardless if we like what's in these new laws or not, to make sure that those happen. The biggest of which is the 9 days of early voting. And one of the things about that is we are flying the plane as we are building the plane. Every single day, we're waiting for additional guidance and information from the State Bureau of Elections and the Secretary of State's office, as well as the state legislator, on implementing several of the pieces of 22-2. We do know it's going to be a costly thing, but just to kind of walk you through what we know right now and the few pieces of information that we have. And information is, again, every day we're getting something different. But I do want to thank Clerk Allen, who has been one of the township municipal clerks, I should say, in Genesee County, who has done a great job at staying on top of things as this information's been flowing. I know he's been active in his municipal association of clerks, as well as our Genesee County Clerk Association that includes both the county and the municipalities, asking questions, finding innovative ways to do this work. I know we're having conversations about even merging some precincts to save some dollars. So I just want to take a second to thank Clerk Allen, because he is one of the few that has been on top of it in this county. And I know the township's in good hands because of the work that he is doing. So within Genesee County with early voting, as Prop 22-2 says, every municipality in the state of Michigan, every registered voter in the state of Michigan now has 3 ways to vote. The first, election day, what we've always known to have. The second, no reason absentee voting, which was added in 2018. And now 9 days of consecutive early voting. Those 9 days have to include 2 weekends. So it starts the second weekend prior to the election, Saturday, Sunday, that full week, and then Saturday and Sunday. Those 9 days does not have to require the Monday before election day. That is an optional day that can be added by municipalities. And each municipality gets to set the times that the polling location is open for early voting during those 9 days. Each municipality, although we at the county are trying to encourage everyone to pick the same or similar times, each municipality is doing their own. Most municipalities have decided they want at least one evening during those 9 days. Unfortunately, so far, every municipality has picked every single evening date. So some have a Monday evening, some have a Tuesday evening, and so on and so forth. But when Prop 22-2 was submitted and we started seeing legislation around it, there was an option for the counties to run early voting. And what that would look like is the county clerk's office would, in conjunction with all of the municipal clerks, take over the election processing ballots, having voters come into a central location in the county for those voters to come in. But that was not something the county could make a decision on. That was something that each municipality would have to enter into an agreement with the county to do. Over the course of this spring, I've had several conversations with colleagues across the county about doing that, to the point where at one of our clerk association meetings, we straight up went around and did a poll of who wants to go in with the county to do a single countywide site. And at that time, there were 4 or 5 municipalities that expressed interest. which for us as a county was not enough to run a countywide site. We have 28 municipalities. Running a site for 4 out of the 28, especially when the 4 of the 28 were not congruent or contiguous at all. They were Linden, Forest Township, Grand Blanc, just for an example. Those weren't the exact ones, but none of them were close to each other. And to make all of those voters come to a central location, which would be the city of Flint, to cast their vote, we decided was not to be the best option. The other thing that we really put into consideration was the work that each of our local clerks is doing in their own election administration. Our residents know the procedures, they know the locations of their municipality. Having to go to a different site, again, a central site would probably be Flint, to make voters from Montrose or from Fenton Township have to drive a half hour to cast their ballot, we felt was not in the spirit of what the proposal was. We were trying to make things easier for folks to cast their ballot, not harder. And then finally, with that, the big decision was that a lot of our clerks, Clerk Allen, you might agree, are very thorough in their work, but also very territorial. And they didn't want any other clerks overseeing their ballots, because if something happened with a ballot in Mount Morris Township in that central voting site, it's going to be Clerk Allen that's going to be getting the phone calls, not myself, not the clerk from Grand Blanc Township. And in those 9-day processes, a different clerk would be running the location each day. So for transparency's sake, for ease of the voters, we made the decision to continue with each municipality having the option to enter into what's called a municipality agreement or running early voting on their own. With given that option, at this point, we have 2 municipalities who have decided to join into a municipality agreement. That is the city of Montrose and Montrose Township. So they will be sharing a singular early voting site based on their population needs. At this point, no other municipality has expressed interest in partnering with another municipality. For a municipality agreement to take place, that is required to be reported to us by October 30th. And it has to be a municipality that is congruent with the other municipality. So for example, if Mount Morris Township was to enter into a municipality agreement, it could do so with Flushing or the city of Flint, Flint Township. You could not enter an agreement with Grand Blanc. You all don't touch. So with that being said, we right now are operating, there will be 27 early voting sites in Genesee County for 28 municipalities. The vast majority of those all happening at the Township Hall or a senior center for that municipality. Again, each setting your own step. The other piece of information that we know is, although what a lot of us see this as is an unfunded mandate by the state, because the vast majority of this is requiring, as you all have probably seen at this point, a lot of funding needed for the security and the integrity of our election system to take place over the course of 9 days. There is a requirement for additional equipment. There will be a requirement for additional staff hours, because for 9 days, those polling locations have to be staffed fully, just like you would a polling location on election day. And one common misconception is, no, you cannot use the same equipment that you use on election day for the 9 days of early voting. And that is simply because those ballots, when you go in for 9 days of early voting, unlike the mail-in ballots, somebody's coming in and putting that ballot in a voting machine. At the end of every day, that voting machine is suspended. So those ballots stay locked in that voting machine. We have ways that we can separate it day by day, put it in ballot containers. But at no point during those 9 days are we tallying or getting a number of what the votes are for race by race. Per state law, that machine has to stay programmed, and we cannot close the election, is what we call it, and process results until 8 p.m. on election day. So when those 9 days of early voting is over, that machine can't be used on election day, because those results are kept separate, so we can tally early votes, absentee votes, and election day votes. So that does bring a requirement for some additional equipment to be had to operate the 9 days early voting, as well as staff time. So that is a really basic overview of the process. We are working with the state of Michigan. The legislator recently allocated just over $30 million to help municipalities and counties with the process of the early vote. To frustration of a lot of county clerks, and I'm certain many municipal clerks, the Secretary of State's office decided to keep a big chunk of that for themselves. They will be doubling their staff to provide what they're saying is support and resources to the local units. We will see what that looks like. But we know out of the money that has been made available to the local units of government, most of that is going to be seen through what they're calling is the early voting grant. And that early voting grant is being administered by the state through the county. And classic government fashion for us to then distribute to the local units of government. And there are a couple of different ways that that is looking. The first, and we're just getting more information about that, is the equipment side of things. So while what the expectation was for a lot of us on equipment was a reimbursement, the state has told us that their intention is that they are going to directly buy some equipment for municipalities based on what we submitted in our countywide grant application. What they have yet to tell us is, are they giving us the amount that we've requested? In Genesee County, we requested 43 tabulators across the county. Each municipality got to request the number that they needed. We put that exact number that each municipality requested to the state. They have guaranteed us that we're getting something, but they won't tell us how many devices we're getting yet. And they also have not guaranteed to us when we're getting these devices. While it is our hope, it is our expectation that we have these devices prior to February, because that is when the next election is. The state is yet to be able to confirm that to us. They said likely, but likely is not guaranteed. So that is something we're actively working, and all our local clerks know as soon as I get an answer, I'm emailing them with whatever information that we have. So that equipment includes the tabulators. That equipment includes what's called a VAT, which is a voter assist terminal. It's the voting device for those that have a disability are able to use. That voting equipment also includes a new system called Ballot on Demand, which is a device that municipalities are able to purchase to have at their early voting site, which is able to directly print on the specialized paper with the specialized barcodes the ballot for each precinct within your municipality. Prior to 9 days of early voting, we always purchase a bulk of all of the ballots that get sent to the municipality. Those that request it by mail get it mailed, and then there's a batch that is kept for election day. With 9 days of early voting, we don't know how many people are going to be going by mail, in person, or over those 9 days. And rather than buying a large stock of ballots, which is actually quite inexpensive, even though it just seems like paper, there's a lot of security to that paper. These devices are a one-time purchase that are able to be kept and used election after election to print ballots from multiple precincts in one location for early voting sites. That also includes a barcode scanner. So someone comes in, they get a code, they scan, and their ballot comes out for their precinct. So it alleviates some of the things and takes out a little bit of the human error. The other equipment piece that is going to be directly purchased by the state is our e-poll books, which is a laptop machine that carries all of the election data that gets downloaded on who has registered to vote, who has voted early by mail, who has voted early during the 9 days to ensure that nobody gets the opportunity to vote more than once, or that no one that is trying to vote gets denied the opportunity to vote that they are supposed to be voting. All other expenses that we have requested for this grant, we're being told we may get approved, and if so, it'll all be done on a reimbursement basis. So those are things like your staff time. Those are things like ballot sleeves and envelopes, the ballot tables, signs, things like that. So that is the general of where we're at financially, but I'd be more than happy to answer any specific or direct questions that you have.
I just have a couple of comments. I certainly agree with you about getting involved with another municipality. We have people in our municipality that would have a difficult time getting to the polls at all, just to come to here to vote, rather than have to go somewhere else. I just don't think we should put that burden on our residents. I've been reading up on this. I certainly think Mr. Allen and his staff have worked diligently trying to get all of this in place. And I certainly think we're in pretty good shape as to what we have to do. There are some, I'm sure they've got a lot more they need to get organized to do that, but I think they're really on top of everything.
More
I just
question,
have a
Brian?
question of clarification, just something you said that the tally, is that on an election day on the 9 day voting or at the end of the 9 days when it's the
So-
one machine?
So that will be tallied after 8 p.m. on election day. So if your last day of early voting is Sunday, which is the last required day, that machine then sits locked until election day, 8 p.m. You run a port just like you would at every other precinct. So it becomes essentially a precinct.
Then I'm sure you guys have been asked a question and pondered what happens. I mean, just playing devil's advocate, that machine got 3 days of tally on it and then it goes down.
Yep. So all of our machines, so there's a couple of things with that. So first, the machines itself. We at the county have several backup machines that we're able to bring in to make sure the vote continues. That is step one of that. Step 2 is regardless of what data happens on that machine, as you know, when you cast a ballot, you put it in a machine, we have all of those ballots. Outside of having those ballots on election day, that e-poll book and that paper poll book we mentioned, it keeps us a track of who has voted. Of course, we can't line someone's ballot to that person, but we're able to make sure that the number of ballots in the machine matches the number of people that have come in to vote. And then the second thing, and one of the great things about the equipment that we have, so in Genesee County, we use HART InterCivic. That is our election system. There are 3 that are approved in the state. In my opinion, HART is one of the best in the country, yet alone what we have in the state. There are several fail safes in that election equipment. First and foremost, when someone comes in to vote and the tabulators for 9 days are the same as your election day tabulators, they are not in any way, shape, or form connected to the internet. There's a plug and they are plugged into the wall. That is electricity. So I just want to clear that up for anyone. There's no internet connected to our election device. But there is what is called a V drive, which is similar to a USB drive. And that V drive is constantly taking all of the information that is going through that. And when a ballot goes through these machines, it is not just looking at the tick marks and saying this person's in this race. What it is actually doing is these are all optical scanners. It is taking a picture of each ballot. So one example of this is after election night has happened, when all of those write-ins happen, we actually on our screen at the county see a picture of each ballot to see those write-ins, and then we put it into the bucket if it's a certified write-in or not. So those all are on that drive. As long as that machine is on, we have that drive. We're able to pull that drive out, and that can go into several computers there. There's also an internal memory that has a limited memory storage on that too. If the device shuts down, we have the memory on that V drive. If the device shuts down, you should not be putting new ballots into a shutdown device. But there is a spot to put so people can continue voting. There's a separate tray in the back of these devices that is not equipped with any technology. There's just a holding spot for ballots that don't go into machine if one of these machines was to go down.
Then how many municipalities are interested in printing their own ballots? Did anybody? I'm just curious
So
if
that
that's
is-
going to be the
yeah.
thing that people are going to do that, or it is going
So that is a good question. I do not know how many municipalities are going to be using the ballot on demand system. So that ballot on demand system is a $5,000 piece of equipment, $5,850, I think, piece of equipment. That includes both the machine itself, which is as well as a printer, a print station. But that machine is what does all the processing of the voter, puts it into the proper barcode, programs that ballot so that it can be counted in our machines. One of the unique things about ballots, and to dispel some myths that we may have heard in the 2020 election, each ballot, each municipality is programmed at the county. When we program an election, there are specific codes and what we call hash verification on the equipment and on the ballot. So if I was to even take a ballot and take it out of this county and try to run it into a machine in Livingston County, it would be rejected. So unless a ballot and the programming was created in this county, that ballot would not be able to be read. And I say all that and why these ballot on demand devices are what they are and why you can't just go to a computer and print something is because all of the coding that is in that barcode and the specialty paper that we use for ballots.
I think that will be the way of the future. It'll be printing on site or just strict AV.
Right.
So.
And right now we're using the ballot on demand for the 9 days, but just like you said, the expectation is that we might be able to use this even on election day to be able to print ballots on demand, especially places that have 3 or 4 precincts in one building, because they're always, if you do an election correctly, I should say, there is an excess of ballots, right? You never want to have the spot where you didn't print enough ballots. You want to have too many ballots, but that means there's unused ballots, unused paper, which is money that's being sent out the door. And in Genesee County, we spend about $350,000 a year on ballot printing.
Any more questions for Dominique? Dominique, I do have one because a resident asked me over the weekend, are we still going to be able to register and vote the same day as last year? They want.
Absolutely. So just for an example, today, October 23rd, is the last day to register to vote by mail for this November's election for the communities that have an election this November, for mail-in registration. However, outside of that, people can continue to go to their local city or township clerks to register to vote. and they can do that up until 8 p.m. on election day. So we do still have same day voter registration. So someone that comes in can come into the clerk's office and register to vote there. They cannot register to vote at the polling location. They have to go to the clerk's office. And at that point, they will be either directed back to the polling location to cast their vote, or they can cast an absentee vote at the clerk's office.
Well, and nothing else, I want to thank you because, like I said, I made the call and I just had questions and we talked on the phone. So you did answer some. And so these are the ones that you've completed, answered for us here tonight. And first of all, apologize because I forgot to add you to the agenda. It's just been a lot going on. So
I understand.
Mr. Allen put the agenda out. You wasn't on there. But anyway, thank you for coming out and giving us this information.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You have a good evening as well. The next, Chief Veach, the resignation of one of Officer Phillips.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So Friday afternoon, I met with Officer Phillips. He did sign a resignation agreement that was prepared by the union. So I'm just asking the board to accept Officer Phillips' resignation.
Board members, what's your pleasure?
I make a motion to accept the resignation of Officer Joe Phillips.
Support.
Questions?
So
Okay, go
I
ahead.
do. So where are we at as far as officers? I know we were running short before.
We are at 25 at this point.
Okay.
I do have some applicants coming in, so we will be conducting interviews here shortly.
Okay. Thank you.
And we are budgeted for 29, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
We're down 4.
okay. Any more questions for the chief? Okay. So come to the chief's report. Okay. We're on the resolution.
Call for the vote.
I'm sorry, call for the vote, yes.
Ms. Armstrong,
Yes.
Ms. Loper,
Yes.
Mr. Baxter,
Yes.
Ms. Sims.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, we're down to the resolution 2023-19 to rescind resolution 2023-11, Genesee County Solid Waste, Water and Waste Amendment.
So what that was for, we had made the previous board, Ms. Armstrong had presented to rescind the Genesee County Solid Waste Amendment, but we had to have resolutions attached to it to make it official.
Mhm.
So that's all it is. We didn't have no numbers last time when that motion was made.
Board members, what's your pleasure?
I make a motion to file a resolution to rescind resolution 2023-11.
Support.
Questions? Hearing none, we call for the vote.
Ms. Loper,
Yes.
Mr. Baxter,
Yes.
Ms. Sims,
Yes.
myself, yes. Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong,
Yes.
motion carries 6-0.
Okay, board members, we're down to approving Devil Night for citizens volunteer hours of 6 p.m. to midnight on October the 30th, 2023. It's your pleasure.
So moved.
Support.
Questions? Call for the vote.
Ms. Loper,
Yes.
Mr. Baxter,
Yes.
Ms. Sims.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong,
Yes.
motion carries 6-0.
Approve Halloween trick or treat hours from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. on October the 31st.
So moved.
Support.
Questions? Hear none, call for the vote.
Mr. Baxter,
Yes.
Ms. Sims,
Yes.
myself, yes. Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong,
Yes.
Ms. Loper,
Yes.
motion carries 6-0.
Board members, we have the non-renewal of insurance due to adversary loss history. So Clerk Allen, I'm gonna let you
Yeah,
take
so
that.
we had received a letter from our insurance broker, Joe Johnson with Burnham. So he just informed us that because of all the things we had going on here at the township, that out of all the things that his company, his brokerage company offer, the liability insurance company dropped us as of January 1st of next year, 2024. So he's in what he's doing. He's putting out bids based on everything. He reached out to all the departments and trying to get us the same rate as possible with the new insurance. So he will inform us when he does receive that new rate. So
Okay, this
he does
is-
all the work.
It's just FYI, correct?
It's FYI, just for
Okay.
informational.
Any questions for him? Okay, we'll move on. Continue or dissolve Personnel and Finance Committee table last fall. I'm gonna turn it over to I think Michelle. Or-
First of all, we need to untable it.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
because this
correct.
was last fall. Okay.
I make
Motion to take it off table.
the motion to take this just off the table.
Support.
Questions? Hearing none.
You gotta vote.
Michelle, call
Gotta
for the
vote.
vote to take it off the table. Yes.
Ms. Sims.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong.
Yes.
Ms. Loper.
Yes.
Baxter.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. Michelle.
Board members, I made the motion. It didn't involve the finance committee, the personnel committee. We were meeting as a group of 3 to have the whole board involved, so that we could discuss, because we had so many personnel issues. And I think by us getting ready to have somebody help us with the policies, we definitely still need to have it as a committee of the whole, because I think everybody's input should be involved, because this is just not us. We may not be sitting here next year. So I think that everybody should be involved. And I think we should keep it as a committee of the whole until we get the policies and procedures, at least, while we're doing that. I think we should keep it as it is. As far as the finance committee, that was not part of, that would be for, Dora to decide that. They're currently meeting as a committee of 3 still?
Everybody's still in the committee.
Okay,
The general
but the
question-
personnel committee should still be, because that affects this entire township. And I think that those policies and procedures, as we just said, our last FYI, we've got so much going on. Everybody should be involved.
And that was the whole thing too, looking back over the minutes and everything. And just my personal opinion, I think that we should have met as a whole
Yes.
in general. I have said
Yes.
that because when you have subcommittees, the information doesn't flow to everybody else. Only the 3 that was there get the information, then it's put before the board, and we're given the information to vote on right away. Which sometimes we have questions and it doesn't get heard at times. So I just wish we didn't have them. We just dissolve them and just everybody meet as a whole. And if there's any questions during whatever is going on, you can answer it and vote that same night, instead of having a meeting to meet about the meeting.
Well, I remember when we first started talking about that, and we said if they weren't working, but my reasoning for having us meeting as a committee of the whole, because I think that the policies and procedures are crucial, and everybody should have an input. Now it's up to the board whether or not they want to vote to dissolve it. But I do think as long as we don't have our policy and procedures in place, and we're still working on that, we do need to meet as a whole.
That's correct.
I do think it's important, because I may not be sitting here, but Elmer may be sitting here next time.
Sure.
You, Miss Armstrong, or whatever. So I still think we need to meet as a committee of the whole for the personnel.
And we need to wait for Dora to come back to decide how she want to do the
It's up to the board to decide as
decides.
far as that goes.
I think as far as the finance committee, I mean, we had one today. It was very productive, and the 3 of us talked about various things. But a lot of the things that we talked about, we will not be saying the same things to the board members. We have never had to have committees before. The board has always handled everything as a whole. I think we should dissolve all committees and work together as a 7-member board we were elected to do this and to run this township. And I don't think we need committees to do that. I think everyone needs to be in on every conversation.
I think we just earlier tonight, we just voted to table something that's been on for a while on a code enforcer trying to save money and other issues. And I think I would agree with Miss Armstrong that, there's a lot of things. It's just like Miss Loper said, there's so many changes going on with the personnel changes that span that committee for we can discuss it as a whole. And there's a lot of ththings that are coming up on finance. And I think we as a board should be discussing it as a whole, because I think some things do get not trickled down, it's just lost. I think if we're all together at the same time that a presentation or whatever is going on, that we all have different questions that can be asked that night.
I'm going to make a motion at this time that all committees be dissolved.
I'll support it.
Any more questions? Call for the vote.
Myself, yes. Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong,
Yes.
Ms. Loper,
Yes.
Mr. Baxter,
Yes.
Ms. Sims.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Okay, employee and township vehicle designation parking area over the Bram or at West employee interests.
That's me.
That's you?
Yep.
Okay.
So we talked about that during the election, how that's going to be with so many people coming in. And then there's not that many handicap designated areas in front of the building. So we talked about that. It needed to be redesignated per se, because we only have the two. I think it needs to be more in the front of the building. So my ask is to have, not to cause confrontation between everybody, but to have the township vehicles and employees park at a designated area so that it can flow easier during election times.
During election times, well, I'm one of those individuals that is physical challenged, and I do have a handicap sticker letting me know that I can park in a handicap slot. And so, and that's what I do. And I, no one knows my physical challenges. I don't have to broadcast it to everyone. So I do park in front, right near my office. And now, if we want to add more handicap spots, you all can do that. But I will not be removing my spot because I am physical challenged and somewhat visually challenged. So you're saying you want the employees to park over the brim, but the employees that are handicapped, how many of them do we have? I know I have two in my department, and that's myself and Mrs. Johnson. I don't know her physical challenges. I don't know why the doctor gave her that. So we have to be very careful because this can become an issue. So do we want to just maybe add a couple of more handicap spots out front?
But I'm open to options. It's just, we only have the two.
We
I mean,
only
it-
we have
we-
four actually, because we have the two right there, and
And
then
two
we have two
behind.
You're right
behind.
across.
And
Yeah.
I think it's one down at that door Mrs.
Mhm.
Ashley used to park
Yeah, down
Yes,
farther.
but
on
that
that
one,
door.
that one we need to redo because it's just a regular space and they're supposed to be larger to give handicapped individuals more room to get in and out. And it's not the
So we need to
standard.
look into what it's gonna cost us. I'm sorry. Right, right. So we need to look into possibly, clerk, if you can look into maybe getting someone out to maybe just add us a couple more, a few more, and then the one on that end that Mrs. Armstrong say
So,
isn't large enough.
so that was one of the things when we changed the precinct,
Yes. Mhm.
we have to be ADA compliant. So
Right.
that's what I'm asking. So the motion come, so we make a motion that, I make a motion that the clerk's office look into making the front of our building ADA compliant for elections and everything.
So move
Any
or
more
support.
questions?
I'm sorry,
It's
support.
okay. Any more questions? Call for the vote?
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong,
Yes.
Ms. Loper,
Yes.
Ms. Baxter,
Yes.
Ms. Sims,
Yes.
myself, yes. Motion carried. 6-0.
Okay, we're down to police department request to send 2015 Chrysler 200 and a 2012 Chevrolet Malibu to auction. Auction.
Yep. Let me find my thing here. So I'm asking to send two vehicles to auction across the street to Fast Lane. They are a 2015 Chrysler 200 and 2012 Chevy Malibu. These were vehicles that were used by our detectives. Both of these vehicles have well over 130,000 miles on them. They both are in need of major mechanical repairs. So I believe it's just within the best interest to send these to auction and get rid of them.
Board members,
I so move.
Support.
questions? Call for the vote?
Ms. Armstrong,
Yes.
Ms. Loper,
Yes.
Mr. Baxter,
Yes.
Ms. Sims.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
motion carried 6-0.
We're down to police department request to repurchase of a, what is it?
Ballistic.
Ballistic shield in the amount of $3,042.
All right. So before Latrell starts throwing something at me, requesting to purchase a ballistic shield from Protect Sales, the cost being $3,042. So initially, this will be paid for by the department through our equipment line item, but it will be reimbursed 100%. And that is part of Congressman Kildee's community project grant that I applied for a year ago. And when I did that, I had to do a budget for the grant. And this ballistic shield was part of that budget. So just asking to be able to purchase this and we'll get it refunded.
Board members, what's your pleasure?
I so move.
Support.
Just-
Any questions for the chief?
Just clarification is just like the fire department. Once you spend the money, they get reimbursed, but you have to spend the money first.
Correct. We have to spend the money first, send off the invoice as well as the check to be
Do,
reimbursed.
does the police department have a ballistic shield now, or?
Yeah, we've got one or two now. This is just for the patrol guys. Throw it in in the trunks of one of the cars in case,
Yeah.
You never know when you might need it. So
Okay. Let's call for the vote.
Ms. Loper,
Yes.
Mr. Baxter.
Yes.
Ms. Sims,
Yes.
myself, yes, Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong.
Yes,
Motion carried. 6-0.
You're welcome. Board members, we're down to, it says additional billing from American Video Transfer in the amount of $2,875. Remember when we decided we were gonna go YouTube Live? We talked about it, but I guess apparently clerk said we didn't vote to pay for the camera, so we need to vote. to
well,
pay
we
for
were
that.
under the impression it was only gonna cost $550.
No, we knew that was never the case. It
Well,
was
that's all we
2,000.
discussed,
800,
wasn't it?
no, it was $2,875. It never was $600. Board members, what's your pleasure? Pay for the camera?
So we got to have a motion support.
Yeah, I need a motion.
So this is, we got to make a motion to discuss it.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the $2,875 bill for American Video.
Support.
Questions?
This $2,800 is just for the one camera system
That camera that that's looking at us.
and
Yes.
the monitor that's above it,
Yes,
probably to broadcast it.
yes.
That's not on the $6,500 bill? A
No.
Microphones?
No, it was two different
I
bills.
see that because according to what I've seen, it doesn't have it on the $6,500 bill. If this is the original bill that we've
That's
received.
what we voted on.
When I gave you all the 2,800 for the camera, because that was the first thing, but apparently we talked about it, but we didn't vote on it. So.
Yeah, I remember voting and talking at least for the 6,500, but then I also remember talking about the camera and we was all for the camera system.
But we. apparently
Because we
didn't vote.
discussed that, we definitely would have to say and watch what we do and act like human beings,
But apparently we didn't vote
you
for it.
know?
So board members, we need to vote to pay the bill for the camera.
Yeah, my suggestion, under comments, we've already got it here and it's here. What are you gonna do, make them tear it out of the ceiling?
Board members, it's your pleasure.
We already.
What's it?
motioned.
Yeah, I made the
Just
motion.
call for
What,
the
We just-
another quick
Yeah,
question. Where's
go
it
ahead.
coming out of, the money?
ARPA funding, correct?
That's a part of the ARPA allocation for this conference room renovation and improvement.
There was enough money in there because last time I knew, we only had cents,
There is
like
enough
60 some
money-
cents
there is
left.
Enough money in ARPA to accommodate that, and there is still excess.
Okay, as long as it's
Okay.
paid for now.
Okay. Let's call for the vote.
Ms. Loper,
Yes.
Mr. Baxter,
Yes, it's coming out, ARPA.
Yes.
Ms. Sims,
Yes.
myself, yes, Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong.
Yes,
Motion carried. 6-0.
So board members, we need to make sure when we're doing stuff like this, we just don't get so involved in the conversation that we forget to vote on what we really need to vote for. Then we won't have to come back. Now we're down to supervisor's recommendation to appoint Gregory Price to the planning commission. You all have Mr. Price information before us and his letter. I did need, Dora has been, telling me you need to get another commissioner. And we were gonna do Braden, but Braden has taken a full-time job in Grand Blanc with the fire department, plus he's part-time with us. So Mr. Price walked into my office, and I've been knowing him since he was a little boy. I was really surprised. And he had a letter, and I asked him, I said, well, how did you know I was looking for a commissioner? And he said that someone had told him. So sitting down, myself, Shauna, we talked to him, and we thought that he would be a good fit for the planning commission. And Mr. Price is here this evening with us. Yes, Mr. Price, you stand. This is Mr. Gregory Price, and he is interested in being one of our commissioners, and you all have all of his information. And
I'd like,
We gotta make a motion.
Yeah, we need-
Okay.
For
Go ahead.
exception.
I make the motion to
Approve.
appoint Gregory Price to the planning commission.
Support.
Questions?
I'd like to hear from Mr. Price. Can you come to the podium? I just wanted, you to tell me why you want to do it and what you bring to this table. I see your resume. I read it.
Lifelong resident. My parents coached here. Both of them been sports, for education. I'm just ready to do my part as a human being in this community. Bring honesty, integrity to the table.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Got a question.
Go ahead. Question.
Mr. Price, sorry. So I just got a question. I mean, I appreciate that you come forward and you want to serve in Montmorris Township, but in the planning commission, do you have any experiences that deals with planning or zoning or future? Because I mean, I sat on that position before and we just redid our master plan and zoning maps. And then in our last meeting that I'm not saying the planning commission that they erred, but we voted against something that they voted for because there wasn't, for whatever reason, it didn't catch a rezoning that a person wanted to change their property that didn't fit into our future land use. And so the people that sit on that planning commission need to be willing to research and dig into it and learn. I mean, your planning book is going to be like that thick. And so just curious if you have any experience in
I have been
stuff like
experienced in zoning, but when it comes to planning, been a local barber, I ran a mortgage company, I'm a trained processors. I mean, it's not the same business, but when it comes to knowing policies, following guidelines and requirements, I'm pretty decent on that, definitely. And I can learn anything.
Yeah.
I just want to
Yeah,
put my
just
hands in it.
need the commitment to be able to dig into it. I mean, when I was on it before, it was planning commission is a nightmare. I mean, it just is. But I mean,
I have time for it. I got one child, work. I got time for it.
Thank you, Mr. Price.
Mhm.
Let's call for the vote.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong,
No.
Ms. Loper,
Yes.
Mr. Baxter,
no, I think we need more experience.
Ms. Sims.
Yes.
I'm gonna say no. Motion is 3-3.
So board members, you're saying the motion is 3-3. So what you're saying to yourself is that Mr. Price, it's a lot to learn. Mr. Baxter came on board. He didn't know anything. A lot of the commissioners don't. They can learn. He has a college education. He has a business. He can learn. It's learning. We have a lot of the commissioners, even before him, did not know, but they learned down through the years. So we're not given an opportunity for this gentleman to learn. His parents were educators. He's a very smart young man. It's reading and learning the planning and zoning. It's a thick book. You're right, Brian. And you didn't know anything, but you learned it.
Right.
You read it and you learned it. You're talking about a young man who's very smart, very educated. What?
You voted. We got to move on.
No, the meeting belongs to me. Okay, I run the meeting. But I'm just saying, I just want to say to you all that this was my recommendation to the body. So, but the last couple of times I have recommended individuals and you all have voted down. It says that the supervisor recommends the commissioners. No, you all don't have to vote. You don't have to vote to support my recommendation. But is that how it's going to be? So we're just not going to have enough commissioners? Doris said we needed another commissioner.
Well, my only problem is, and I certainly don't know this gentleman, I have nothing against him personally, but I just think we need to have people on this commission that have some background in planning or zoning or informational things that would go in with that. But most of the commissioners we have on there now, Jolena, has no background whatsoever, and that's why we run into problems.
But that, excuse me, Ms. Price, you can't speak out. The thing about that, Gail, is that you're not getting anyone breaking the door down to be a commissioner at the township.
Did
And
you
everyone needs
advertise?
I have myself and
online
Dora.
or,
We have. No, I'm not going to spend the money. We just put
No,
it
I'm
out
saying
there.
on our website.
No, I'm not sure if I did or didn't. It's just been, one thing after another. But Mr. Price, I'll get back with you. We'll see how things go. I'll bring it back to the next board meeting once again to see how the vote goes.
Well,
So we're gonna
I
get-
just have one quick comment since everybody else had theirs.
Mhm.
When I got on the planning commission back 6 years ago or 7 years ago, in my first term, I didn't know nothing about the planning. And between reading and coming to the meetings, every time we had a meeting, it wasn't that hard to really figure things out. And it wasn't 2 board meetings ago, we was gonna hire, and I like Brandon to death. He's a good firefighter. He really puts 100% in everything. But we was all hip to go because he was young and,
And now you have a gentleman who's experienced.
like I say, I didn't know nothing 7 years ago about planning at
Mhm.
all, and I've been back and forth, replacing somebody that's, went out and,
But you had been with the township since 1988. You had
Right.
learned things as you had.
oh
been
yeah,
here.
yeah, I've been here
Yeah,
since
and
I've
that
been
was a plus.
born.
Yeah.
But being with the township has nothing to do with it.
You learn a lot as you go, Joanna.
Well, I'm just gonna bring it back at the next meeting, so we'll have a full board at that point. Okay, so we're gonna move on. Sorry, Mr. Price, but I will be bringing it back at the next board meeting. Resolution 23-20, a resolution operating, let me see, the resolution opposed the reduction of the Genesee County 6 satellite out county district court buildings. Is that you?
Yep. So we received a memo about the unity of the courts, and it's right here. It says right here, please be advised that the 67 District Court is not closing in Davidson, and what they're trying to do is consolidate it, everything out of county, and we want to keep it the way it is, the district courts.
Board members, what's your pleasure? So we need to vote, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Make a
Need a
motion
motion.
to support the resolution 2023-20 to oppose the closing the 6 satellite out county district court building through Genesee
Support.
County.
Any questions? Let's call for the vote.
Ms. Sims,
Yes.
myself, yes. Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong,
Yes.
Ms. Loper,
Yes.
Mr. Baxter.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Finance Director report, Mr. Holmes.
Supervisor, Township Board members and residents, my report tonight actually corresponds with a couple of things. I had provided the members on the lectrum the monthly budget through a month end of September 30th, which was actually extended through the 18th so that we captured at least one of the payrolls that had some of September in it. The Finance Committee and I discussed that this morning. I did point out to them, as you see there in draft form, that the budget does require a second amendment at this point to align some line items that are exceeding budgeted line items area. The largest portion of that amendment refers to the agenda item that spoke to our non-renewal of insurance there. Would be the largest portion of that actual amendment once it's actually proposed for you. Finance Chair did desire for this to be moved forward, but after discussions with Clerk Allen, it was, and she's not actually here to speak to that, I believe that it would probably be best reviewing it at another meeting. But I am going to ask if you could please take a look at that detail that's attached to that document. It does attempt to forecast the year as far as I can to March 31, which does include everything that I know about right now there. Things change every day, but the things that we do know about now is captured in that proposed amendment. there. Um, Although I was just whispered in my ear about a sizable expense that might be coming our way through the fire fund there. So again, I'm going to ask if you would just take a look at it. We do need to have a really good conversation before December ends regarding this particular fiscal year and some individual concerns that I have that I would like your guidance on as this year goes forward. Coupled with that, my next report actually will be corresponding with a meeting that Supervisor Sims and I will have on tomorrow morning. The Genesee County Planning Commission has informed us of the new allocation of community development block grant funding. Our allocation for the next 3 years is just south of $185,000, which is less than what we did get the last round. That will require a public hearing so that we can hear from the public, as well as to get your individual desires for those dollars, which could include as well an agenda item that you discussed tonight there. But we will certainly able to give you that information upon request. But I did want you to be aware that that is forthcoming. We do have to have the application back to Genesee County by December the 6th. So it's going to be a very important meeting once that meeting is scheduled for not only the body, but for the community to come out and express their desires because it is the public's dollars. We've also been invited to apply to the state of Michigan for the next round of financially distressed cities, village, and township grant funding. That grant funding corresponds with public safety and infrastructure. Although there is a little gray area for some other things. I did mention that to the Finance Committee this morning. I do plan to have a conversation with the public safety individuals, the chiefs, as well as police chief, to determine what some individual needs might be that could go in that particular application. But that too is due in December. So got a busy next few weeks, but look forward to doing what I can to move the ball forward down the field. That's all I have tonight.
Any questions for Mr. Holmes?
I have a question.
Mhm.
So just to verify, it is CBG grant funding 100, just south of 100,000. That is,
185.
is that each year?
No,
Or all
that's for
3
the
years?
3-year
Okay, just
period.
verifying.
That's
Yeah.
for the 3-year
1 year.
period. And so
Okay.
we, as the board, thank you for that question. So as you consider the requests from the community, as well as the priorities that you all placed within the municipality, we need to factor that in. Knowing that the end decision, though, does lie with Genesee County as to how they approve up or down.
I have a Mr. Holmes.
Yes,
You say 180,000 for 3
100.
years.
80 seconds.
185. It's actually
185.
184,261.
Okay. The code enforcer money was not put into that.
This is a
3-year
brand
period?
new
This is a new
application.
one.
This is
Okay.
brand new, so we could put that in there. I didn't want to specifically say that, but that was the agenda item that
I
I
think
was
it
referring
always
to.
has been. That's why.
Well, it always have to, for some reason it was
Mm-hmm.
missed, which is why we're having this discussion about the situation now. It was missed in one of the cycles. This current cycle that did begin August did bring $22,000 for code enforcement back to play. But of course, that would not suffice the need for those 2 personnels and the salary that corresponds with that. So yes, you are absolutely right. For the longest history that I'm aware of, at least, it was code
So-
enforcement.
If it's 3
That's
years, this is, we're going at the end of the 3rd year, so it actually wasn't put in
Up on us coming
up
on board.
before we come into this board.
Correct.
So it was,
When I was reassigned in my position in March, we were spending CDB dollars that was for the period 2020 through 2022.
Mhm.
The county was behind. COVID kind of moved stuff behind, so they're actually just catching up. We're currently right now spending 2023 through 2022, 2024, because they overlap, 22 overlap. So these projects that we have now, that does include, as I mentioned, $22,000 for code enforcement. It includes funding for our police, the funding for the Community Cares Block Club that you approved a couple meetings ago, funding for the Crapo Center, out of the small amount that was there in this current round, which expires August the 30th of 2024. There would have to be, should not say, should
Let me
expire, but need
clarify
to be
my
spent
question.
by August 20th.
I would like to know if the previous supervisor didn't put it in the CB, and that's why we got,
That's exactly correct. That did
because
not-
my figures, it should have been put in the last 6 months of the previous term.
There was
That's
a
why we're
public
running short.
hearing held in October of 2020 for this particular allocation, similar to what we're scheduling. Somehow, the priorities did not include that, and
But it always included, it always
I
included
can only
that.
speak to
Okay,
what
so-
happened, sir. But
Yeah.
I don't know who made the decision or if it just got dismissed, but it definitely did not get in the cycle as it had historically had there.
And
there
then
was
it's
a
just
gap
now
year.
finally catching up to us.
Yes, that's coming on. That's a huge variance in what the expenses are actually of what we need with the $22,000. That's a big gap. But it can be right sized.
I just have a question for you, Elmer. I mean, you were part of that cycle. Do you recall any
I remember being at the- I
conversation
remember
where
being at
you
the
didn't
meeting.
include them?
No,
When-
but I have the paperwork. I'll look at it tomorrow.
Yes.
I just like to know, was there a rationale why they weren't included, or was it discussed, or was just a
I don't remember it being discussed in that meeting because I was out in the
I was at that
audience.
meeting as well.
Right.
I could help clarify for you, Ms. Loper. I do also have the minutes at the public hearing that's going to be scheduled as it was at this one. Mr. McLaughlin did take minutes.
Okay.
Attendance was taken. Everything that happened in that public hearing is documented and was sent down to the county. So I could provide the members that as well.
I'd be just
I
curious. as to
remember
know.
Yeah.
demoing houses and everything else was talked about.
And
but-
Rochdale and Cameron, those two
Yep.
streets. And also Adolphus Slim Block Club. Exactly.
Could be, everything could be, and I just want to preface this, again, it's your decision, but what we send down there is not always what is finalized, because
Right,
again,
right.
it's the county's call
Decision,
there. It's
yeah.
the county's decision there. It does appear, because we are less than the last round, that they may have even received less money from HUD themselves there. I don't know that. We'll know that tomorrow morning there. So that.
Thank you. Anything else from Mr. Holmes? Thank you. Mrs. King is not here for the financial committee report. Mrs. Loper, personnel.
I just want to bring up, last meeting, we voted on the people matters, and I want to put it out here. One of the things that we talked about when we had that vote is that we were anticipating a grant that would cover that cost. I was informed this week that we did not receive that grant. So, and I sat here and said that that's what we were looking, contingent on that. And again, I was told we didn't receive it. So when I spoke with Supervisor Jolene, because I wanted to be very transparent when I say one thing and it doesn't come to fruition, what are we going to do? And she informed me that we had monies to cover it. So Latrell, can you expound upon that so that we are real clear on how that's going to be covered? Because my solution at the time was just to postpone it until we saw our way clear. But you said that we could do that.
Thank you for that. We did have a conversation with the state, as I alluded to before, about that invitation to write for the CVTS that actually happened as a part of that conversation.
Mhm.
They passed on that opportunity to fund that particular thing, although they did explicitly express that they felt it was extremely important to this municipality to go forward with this there, but they were not able to fund it. And then they offered the CVTRS grant. Those dollars are again before the last opera at the last opera presentation, there was dollars remaining there, about $11,000. I have programmed that, what is it, $8,800 expense in opera, and it still fits within opera there. So that is an allowable opera expenditure. It does correspond to government operation, which is allowable there. And we could certainly satisfy that expense with opera dollars there. Ms. Jody did give me a call, and she is ready and ramped up and ready to begin just as soon as we give her the go-ahead there as well.
I just wanted to make sure that we had it as a matter of record, because I had stated at the last meeting when we had the vote that it would be contingent upon us receiving that money. And when we didn't get it, I didn't want it to come back, and as board members, you all did not know where the money was coming from and that it was coming from a different funding source.
Would be my recommendation for a formal vote, motion and vote for that, to properly place that though within the opera. It is programmed in my presentation for opera. That is down to $3,000. Hallelujah. And we'll have opera all taken care of. So, but
I'll
thank
make a motion at this time to pay the $8,800 out of the ARPA funds.
Support.
Questions?
I had a question for Mr. Holmes.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. So all the road specs and stuff like that, the county for resurfacing the roads, I know we're keeping some of that money just in case they came out or we may have owed more, but have we gotten all those back?
We've paid half of those projects because that's all we've been billed for. The portions that we paid for was right at 50%. Where we are seeing a little variance is with the equipment purchases. Actually, our public safety equipment that was quoted at one price and approved is coming in at various prices, the fire suppression equipment. So want to leave that little cushion for that reason, which I wanted to leave the other cushion for that reason there. But there is a greater opportunity for us, as I mentioned to the body before, if all of these dollars are obligated by 12/31/23, that we get an additional boost in our state revenue share there. But it does have to, we discussed that again at finance this morning, that is a target that I hope we're able to achieve there and have everything obligated.
Well, we had 3231 left this morning.
That's,
We just took the
no,
2875.
that was already in there.
That was already in there?
Yes,
Okay.
that's
So the
$3,000.
2875, okay.
Yes.
All right.
It's already in
But the 2875 has not come out of that.
there. That's in there as well. That's in there.
Out of the 3231. No.
That's in the number you looked at this morning, that box. all of
Okay.
those
So we
are-
still have
Yes,
3231.
we do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Call for the vote.
Myself, yes. Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong,
Yes.
Ms. Loper,
Yes.
Mr. Baxter,
Yes.
Ms. Sims.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, we're down to Community Engagement Committee report. I have Mr. Torres is going to report under the code enforcers. We put them under Community Engagement.
We had a situation last week. I had a court order to go up on Elmcrest, and I coordinated everything the day before and got up there. I had Louis there and called for backup. Officer on scene. This guy comes charging out of the house, and he cut him off, put him in handcuffs, put him in the back seat. I want to thank the chief because turned around and I had the chief was there, 2 detectives, Montmore City, had a sheriff's department, the guy there. And I was there for about a little over 3 hours. But so just to let you know, we deal on the same level as PD. We're down here and they're up there. You don't know what these guys are going to do when you go on their property and take their stuff. So it was hairy for a minute, but it worked itself out.
Okay, can you report on the court case of Hilton Lane?
Hilton
And board
Lane, that
members, you all have
was
pictures from that, from what,
Tuesday
they
also,
were
Tuesday
taken
morning.
before and after pictures.
I was down there with Leo in front of Judge Haley. Had a court order for that. took it out today. There was some small debris there. We had our contractor go in there and clean that all up. I was there about 3 o'clock. Everything looks good.
Is that 5158 Hilton?
6168.
6168 Hilton, yeah. It looks, this was the before picture with all this debris?
Yes.
Yes, and
All
this is,
cleaned up and
okay.
the homeowner will be getting a bill. There's some fines in there. I don't know if Gail's got any money. They haven't come
They have
in
not
yet.
paid anything.
Okay.
So is that it?
So, yeah, so it's
Okay.
just, you don't know what we're gonna run into out there, my partner and I, you know?
Is this a
Yeah.
rental house by any chance? Do we know?
Yes, it is.
It
Elm
is.
Crest is a rental house and,
So they both are.
yes.
Hilton is the house that's next door to Miss Carol Smith, who was asking us to
Mm-hmm.
take care of it. That's the house that was, how it looked at,
This house here?
that's how it looked at. But once, they went to court, Leo and Mr.
So
Torres
we
went to
got a
court
court order for both those
to clean
places.
it up. Yeah, and it changed, but it was two
Right.
places. Yes.
How long will that dumpster be
Just
there?
doing- I'm
The
sorry?
dumpster is gone.
The
I
dumpster's
think.
gone because the
Dumpster's
picture
gone.
show it here.
We
Okay,
did have a contract go in today, get miscellaneous stuff up there.
okay.
You're gonna get a bill.
Okay.
Just to let you know that sometimes you can get a little hairy out there.
All righty. We're down to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. Yes. Of course, Attorney Carey isn't with us, so we won't have an attorney report.
Got public comments.
Oh, I'm sorry. Public comments. We're down to public comments. And those of you who are not there, the board voted to change the public comments to 3 minutes. So, ma'am, are you coming?
Good evening.
Good
Can I
evening.
State my name and address and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Please.
Okay. Rashonda Williams, I stay at 2279 Toby Beth. I'm also on the Beecher Community School Board. I have a few things, so I might be speaking a little fast, but I want to get it out there. Economic development. That was asked months ago. Still haven't seen any businesses coming out here to us. Want to know where they at. Been sitting in the seat for a long time, long enough to bring some type of businesses, and we haven't seen anything. I keep listening and hearing about money going out, but no money coming in. So I would like to know about that. Also want to touch on what I just heard this evening about y'all looking at the budget, going over things. What's taking so long? That should be something should have already been looked at and going over with time and time again, where you don't have to wait until now to try to figure out financing jobs and things of that nature. Back to the money. Got to get back to the money. I keep hearing about grants. Grants aren't guaranteed to anybody. They're not guaranteed money at all. That's not a funding I don't think you should bank our township on. I know that's a part of it, but it shouldn't be that guarantee. And I would like to see how many grants have you put out and how many has came back into our district as well. Not something that's recurring, something new. And far as the code enforcers, I would like to see, is there any savings when it comes down to cutting their job? And if so, where would that money be rerouted to? Because that plays a part. Because our streets are still bumpy. We only got one new street in our community out here in Beecher, which I don't think is fair. Bates, that's the only street I've seen done. I haven't seen anything else. I would like to see more. I don't know how y'all spending the money, but I would like to see more. To me, I feel like you should be able to patch up some of the main problems. Hilton to tear your whole car apart if you go down it. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. And for the board, we voted y'all here. Some of y'all I voted for, some of y'all I didn't. But as a whole, we voted you here, and I would like for you to not give up on us until you are not in that seat. And that goes for everybody up there. I don't want y'all to vote yes to things that don't make sense. 1 + 1 is 2, it's not 3. I'm on the school board. I am irritated to the max when it comes down to finances.
Your
So I would like
minutes.
for our money to be spent wisely.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good evening.
Yeah.
Any more public comments?
Good evening to the
Evening.
board.
Carol.
Carolyn Wallace Smith, 6162 Hilton Lane. I live next door to the house that 6168, and I want to thank you all and commend you for listening to me and seeing what goes on in our neighborhood. And I thank you for your time and your effort in getting those people out. That's why it's important to get a landlord renters ordinance created. And also, I commend you, Armstrong, about the group meetings where everything is discussed, not one specific thing. Everybody should be in on it because you all are a group. I'm looking at the agenda and I wanted to ask who is over the Devil's Night volunteer hour? Who?
That would be Chief.
Okay, so how do we, I need to find out, I guess afterwards I'll ask you, how do we connect with you if we wanted to help? Okay, and my other thing was, when we hire people anywhere, you have to give them a chance to be trained. You know, you have to give them a probationary period. You all went through some things. I don't care how long you've been on a job. I retired 39 years on a job, but you have to be trained. Every person is different and every business is different. Meaning, if they come in with a little experience, you might do your thing this way and they may do it that way, but you have to work with what and who you are given. Okay. And then my other issue was the code enforcement officers. And thank you, Torres, when you said that we do various duties. My question was, what does their job, the code enforcers, what was their job and what does it consist of? Meaning for the 4 months that they are out, November through February, why couldn't they be placed in other departments to work along with other departments to do things for those 4 months? Because they have families and responsibilities. And my last thing, hate me if you want to, board, could or would the board sacrifice a cut themselves, half day, X amount of hours, those kind of things? And that is where I am, but thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Any more public comments? Hearing none, we move forward.
If I could make a comment on something Mrs. Smith said. Myself, our building inspector, and Leo, our attorney, we met together a few weeks ago, I think about 3 weeks ago, putting out what we think should be in the renters agreement. Leo is working on one. I don't know to what extent yet. We haven't got anything from him, but we are working on it because my office needs it desperately to be able to identify what houses are rentals. So we are working on that.
It creates this, things we're not doing.
Well, that's good to hear. Okay, we're down to, of course, attorney isn't here, so we're past the attorney reports. The fire chiefs are here. Chief Hillerman, you have anything?
I have a couple things, Board. First off, I'd like to thank everybody that showed up for my mother's funeral. It was greatly appreciated. Every one of you showed up, and Miss Loper got lost and went to the wrong one. So
Tell it.
I appreciate the thought.
I was at Sharp. Where was I at?
She was at Swartz.
Swartz.
And also the
Sorry.
police chief showed up and his better half, to say the least. Back in June, there was a grant that was put out for the Michigan Fire Equipment Grant through the Secretary, I guess through the Department of Treasury. And Latrell was busy at the time with some other grants and so on and so forth. So I actually took it upon myself, not knowing some information until afterwards. But I applied for this grant and I only asked for $93.50. to purchase some more equipment for the fire department. As of October 20th, I was notified that I was awarded the $10,000 grant for the township. With the help of Latrell sending information back that I was unaware of, that you had to be the chief financial officer and you have to sign everything. It was all taken care of. So we did get awarded. It's basically, we buy the stuff, we send a copy of the stuff down to them, and they reimburse us on our equipment line items where everything's going to come out. The main, excuse me, the biggest purchase that we're looking at is what my main focus for this whole project was dash cams for the fire trucks. We do not have any type of camera systems in none of our trucks, and we've been in some collisions.
Right.
It's been 6 months to the day that truck 12 was hit on the expressway, and it's still out for repair. Still no answers. I talked to Tokyo Marine today. She called me. She did a follow-up with Frontline. Still has no answers. They're still waiting on parts from Pierce. I would have just totaled it, and we could have got a new truck. We had already had one probably, because we could have found something that was already manufactured and ready to go. So at this point, there is no update on truck 12. It's still out. We're still down a vehicle. But that's the main focus on this part of the grant, was for some dash cams and some other minor equipment that will offset our budgets. And it's for all three stations, not just for one. It was for the entire group as a whole. So, but once again, I just want to thank everybody and give my condolences to Brian on his mother. It was unfortunate. 3 days later, you're dealing with the same stuff. So my condolences to you. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Chief. Do we have anyone from station?
Yeah,
Three.
Brian Lear.
Brian. You have anything from 3? Okay, Elmer.
I just want to thank Scott for all the hard work with Mr. Holmes on this $10,000 grant. Also want to say sorry to Mr. Baxter for his loss of his mother. It's a hard thing to do. Another thing I just want the board to know, the city has asked all the out-county town or fire departments for assistance for Devil's Night, because sometimes they get pretty slammed. I volunteered to send one of our trucks from Station 2 to Station 6 area to help with this side of the city of Flint, plus help us. And I've offered, since Station 1 was down a truck, if any of their manpower was interested in going on my truck to try to make it, everybody have a chance to do it. Anyways, we have a good crew going over there to help out for Devil's Night for like 6 hours, I think it is. But other than that, we will be handing out candy at the fire department at my station. We always have. So if you guys want to stop by, we'll be there.
Okay. Police Chief.
Just got the September stats. You should all have a copy, but just briefly, our Detective Bureau obtained 32 felony warrants, 62 misdemeanor warrants, and investigated 39 new complaints. Our patrol officers responded to 1,622 911 calls, policed 38 traffic accidents, conducted 238 traffic stops, issued 175 traffic citations, made 73 misdemeanor arrests and 33 felony arrests. And then I just also wanted to state that Shea Chevrolet at Linden and Corunna will be having a large trunk or treat on the 29th. I believe that starts at 3 and goes till 6. It's basically fire, police, EMS that will be there handing out candy. It's spearheaded by Genesee County 911. We'll have an officer there handing out candy for all the kids, but it's usually a very large event. So I suggest if you're going to take little ones, get there early because they line up all the way down Corunna Road. So that's all I have.
That's Fridays. Is that the 29th? That's the 29th?
The 29th, is that Saturday?
Sunday.
Sunday? Oh, okay.
You always have.
We're down to board comments. Ms. Armstrong?
I really don't have anything at this time except to say to Mr. Hillerman and Mr. Baxter, so sorry for your loss. I lost my mother in 2013. I still say good morning to her every morning when I look at her picture going out the door. It's a hard thing to give up a mother because a father is hard, but a mother is very special. And that's all, yeah, that's all I have.
Mr. Wilson.
Happy Halloween coming up. Be safe and watch the kids running across them roads. Hopefully it doesn't rain. That's all I have.
Mr. Baxter.
I'd like to thank everybody for their condolences. Now, I mean, I've been taking care of my mom basically for 2 years, pretty much every day for the last 9 months with my brother's. You know, he lives there, but he works also. So it's like 6 hours a day, pretty much, especially since April. And so I haven't been able to be in the office here as much as I'd like to have. And now I'll be able to get in here more and see some more hands-on, and looking forward to it. But I'd like to, I appreciate everybody's condolences. Also, a reminder, we do have daylight savings time will be coming up that first weekend in November also. So it'll be getting dark, but yeah, definitely watch out for the kiddos at Halloween.
So
I just a couple of things. Just thank the code enforcers for getting that. That looks good. The pictures of getting that. It's so many other houses that are ridiculous. So, you know, you got to take just one step at a time. So I thank you because this is our community, and to have it nice and clean, that looks good. I also want to thank the police chief, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say, yesterday when I got home from church, I had my 12-month, and I had my 3-year-old, and there was a huge, big black pit bull in my backyard, and he was at my back door, and I was alone with my 2 little ones. And so they came out and got the dog. He seemed like a nice dog, you know. I didn't know. I didn't want to take a chance.
I just want you to know
Could have been
Chief
me.
said he was a little
But Chief, he came right up to it, and I was like, okay. So I was like, okay. But maybe he, it was, I don't know, but he just, yeah, he was not. It was a girl dog. So, but I appreciate that. You all do so much more than we really realize that you all do, and so I just want to say thank you. And board members, I will keep you all every step on the loop as far as us doing these policies, because this is something that's going to help us all the way down the road for years to come. So I'm excited, and this is a whole group effort so that we can get things done. And again, condolences to both Mr. Baxter and Ms. Dillon. My heart was in the right place. I was on Morris Road. I am not familiar with Swartz Creek. And so it was like 11:15. I called my husband. I'm like, I am lost. So I just was too embarrassed to come late. But I wanted you to know that I was offering you my condolences. So that's all I have.
All right, I just got the one thing. Board members, just to get some clarity, we back it's about a month ago, seemed like a month or two ago, we passed a motion to where that I was to bring all fiscal things to the board. And then we have Miss Sims has a $3,000 limit. So I thought, in my mind, that one trumped the other, but as far as bringing fiscal things to the board to get approved. So I need some clarity about what policy and how are we going to go about doing it. Because she, in our purchasing agreement, our supervisor has $3,000 up to $3,000 spend
Out of her budget.
out of her budget, and we have that fiscal motion that was made to bring everything in front of the board.
So you're asking us where do they connect, or is it one or the other? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, are they one or is it?
Well, how was it wrote? I mean, how is it
I know
had
when-
been? What is past practices? Has the previous?
According to the rules and regulations set up in the MTA book by the state, everything is supposed to come to the board. Everything.
Well, I know when we set it up, it was just I get $3,000 if we needed something at the township, like our furnaces or whatever we needed. That I could not go over that $3,000, and that did not have to come before the board.
Right.
And I've only used it maybe once or twice since I've been here.
I'm asking what has past practices been. I'm asking what has been.
Past practice, it went as status quo, but you made a motion that all fiscal things must come from the board. I'm like, what was you thinking?
Because it's
Well, then-
always been that's what the supervisor has.
That was the motion made.
Right, and it was at first $500, but they changed it because the thing about that is that what can I do with $500 if someone come and say we need a furnace? You know, and I understand we understand emergencies. So that was the big question over a year or so ago because this has been in place for over a year. And like I said, I've never spent anything but maybe once or twice. So, and it's always been I did it, and the check, the invoice went to the clerk's department. So that's the way it's always been.
Yes, but you guys understand what I'm saying. We had two different. We have a policy of the purchasing agreement. Not disputing that. It's $3,000 limit for the supervisor. But about, like I said, about 90 days ago, 2 months to 90 days ago, we made a motion, the board, to bring all fiscal matters to the board. What was your thinking?
When we made that motion, and I can't remember what I did last week, let alone 90 days ago. However, when we made that motion, did we include
No, we didn't.
her? That's what I'm asking.
we didn't.
What did we reference that in? Was that all spending, including
It's all fiscal.
all? Okay, that's what I'm asking.
It's all
So
fiscal.
did we clarify it?
There was no clarify. That's why I'm.
And so you're asking for clarification. So
Because in my
actually, you're
mind,
asking for a
sent
vote.
blanket. It sent a blanket across that everything must be coming from the board.
And that's
in
up to
my
the board
eyes.
to decide how we want to, and that again, to me, that falls underneath creating a policy. And that's where we come into play when we don't have really clear policies in place.
And it's not clear to me as the person that enforces the board recommendations and rules and everything else. If I have any kind of questions or doubt, I don't pass it or do anything. I come to you for clarification. Once again, this is what this is.
I hear you.
So I'm just saying, so is it?
So that's going to be a policy that we have to decide as a board what we want to do. Do we want to have everything come to the board, including the allowance that the supervisor has, or do we want to exclude, like if, say, you have an allowance, Miss Armstrong has one and you have one, what we want to include and what we don't? That needs to be a policy. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Okay.
All right.
And we need to clarify that. And that's one of the reasons why it's so important for us to get these policies, procedures in place, because it's just like you said, are we doing everything or are we excluding or what? And I did ask, just so we know, because I asked Miss Jolena about that. If you're spending money, what is the steps that you ensure that you're not going over and the budget and that type of thing? What do you have in place? Because just because you have $3,000, you just can't keep spending, especially because if you keep spending and not bringing anything back in it, eventually you're going to run out. So that's what I wanted to know, because I was concerned about that too. You know, 3,000 doesn't mean it's an endless supply of money.
So I asked the finance director where I'm at. He keeps me abreast of everything financially because that's my job as the supervisor, to watch the budget and to make sure everything is flowing. So if I need something, rarely, but I will go to him and say, can I do this? And he don't have a problem with saying no. So I always ask him. But yeah, he does.
And
But, yeah.
and so that was just asking with that. And once again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and for those who presented, and also my condolences to Brian and Scott. That's all I have. Thanks.
First of all, Brian, my condolences. And I only have two things. On tomorrow, the 24th, Hamilton and Beecher is playing a volleyball game. I received an email from the Beecher Community School District asking that we come and we watch the game. They're saying that it's time for the two schools to unite versus being separate. So the game is $5, and as many of us can from the Beecher community and the Hamilton community to come to the volleyball game and just give your support for the two schools.
It's at Beecher.
It's at Beecher, yes, in Mose Lacey Fieldhouse. So I received that email on today. And the other thing, Dora isn't here, but I want everyone to know that Dora put on a wonderful event yesterday, as always, for the first responders. Those of us that were there know we had a nice luncheon, and she gave out plaques. She spent a lot of money, and I just think she deserves, even though she's not here, her kudos for that. It was a very, very nice event. So I just want y'all to know that. And if there's nothing else, let's make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Support.
Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, let's call for the vote to adjourn.
Ms. Loper?
Yes.
Ms. Baxter?
Yes.
Ms. Sims?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong?
Yes.
We're now adjourned.
You know the time on that, by the way?
Dwayne?
The time.
Is it like 6 o'clock?
No, hold on.
I mean, I just don't know. 5:30. That's
5:30.
right.